Did you go live?
Just want to make sure everything's set. Yes. Welcome to another episode of the Caribbean Edge. My name is Dawn Wilson, and we have a few guests joining us tonight who will introduce themselves. And you are?
Joycine, Guerra. And I'm Charlene, Bouie.
Hi, I'm Charlene. Nice to see you guys. Happy Hump Day.
I know.
Happy Hump Day.
So thanks for tuning in. We're just doing a couple shares right now, just to make sure all of the viewers who are tuning in tonight are seeing us.
Sorry, excuse us. I believe Charlene is trying to share as well. Yeah.
Any luck, Christine?
Yeah, and that's you. You want to put maybe domestic violence? You don't have to. You can edit it later on. But I just like to give the viewers a little bit of a
We do apologize for the delay. Yes, we are actually live because I'm seeing us. So thank you so much for your patience as we start tonight's show with such an important topic of discussion. The Caribbean Edge is truly honored to bring you this topic and to shed light on domestic violence. And so we have survivors that will be speaking to it, and we're going to get really deep tonight. So I want to share two comments that I read today because it's important to recognize our viewers that are tuning in and commenting as well. One of them is from Tangi, and she said, "In my first marriage, he beat me, tortured me, and began to start on my children. I said, enough. I got out of there. I stayed in an abusive marriage for 11 years. That is powerful because it brings light on the subject that we're discussing. And Miss Charlene posted today, and she doesn't even know I'm sharing this one, but abusers beat the hell out of you, mistreat your children, and dare you to speak on it. Molesters violate you and shame you into silence. I was a little girl who fought for her voice. I was invisible in plain sight." Another powerful statement that I think was befitting to start tonight's show. So thanks for joining us. So we're going to start with Miss Charlene. Tell us about your experience with domestic violence. What do you want to share with us?
Tell us why you decided to come on the Caribbean Edge.
I have a domestic violence organization, and how I came about that is I was a survivor. I started to experience abuse in my earlier years. I was sexually, physically, emotionally abused. Sometimes I wonder, what is it I'm going to share with the general public, and what is it that I'm going to keep private? But what I recognize is that how you express and share with people what surviving looks like is you've got to tell your story. So just as of this year, March, I start to talk publicly more about what my experience was, because people are always asking, well, why are you so passionate about it? And that is why, is because of my experience. It started out where I can remember it's early on in elementary school, where my elementary school teacher put me in a garbage can. She put bubble gum on my nose. So early on, I was being taught to be humiliated and to not have self-respect. In high school.
Which elementary school was this? This was here in the U.S. So
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. And when I was in high school, my male high school teachers were trying to sleep with me. And when I wouldn't sleep with them, they would fail me. And so nowadays, that type of abuse, they're going to prison for it. It's not looked upon as welcoming.
Accepted.
Yes, yes. And so from that, and then I was married, and from my marriage, I dealt with abuse within the marriage. And so my children have been prepared for this. So there is nothing that I will say tonight that is going to be shocking to my children. Maybe to everyone else, but not to my children, because the first thing that I did was to prepare my kids for all of this and let them know that it was not their fault. It was nothing that they could do. But when you look at family dynamics, what happens in homes, males who are brought up in domestic violence homes, 9 out of 10 become abusers themselves. And so as time went by, I knew that I needed to do something for my children. I had to change the dynamics. I lived in Seattle, Washington, grew up in Coconut Grove. I'm a Florida girl. We call ourselves Grovites. I'm a Grovite for life. But when I moved to Seattle, I was thousands of miles away from home. I found a really good church, and that church is where the basis of my Christianity was developed. And in developing my Christianity, it taught me what wasn't my fault. It taught me what to own and what to release. Now, it took me like 30 years to really get the grips of who I was, because in the very beginning stages of life, I was being taught that I didn't matter. So in elementary school, I had a teacher that made me sit in the garbage, and I was always told that I was not pretty, you will never be anything, you're no good. So those types of things, once they get in your psyche, it's hard to get them out. So it didn't matter that people thought I was pretty. What my subconscious mind told me overruled what my conscious mind. So 95% of what you think, those things that you're told from the age of elementary to about 7 years old, those things fill up your subconscious mind. So when you become an adult, everything that you were fed in the subconscious mind is what rules in your conscious mind. So therefore, when you hear people, you see people make the same mistakes over and over and over again. So your question is, why are you making that same mistake?
Because are you not learning the lesson, is what I ask myself. Am I not learning the lesson here? Why am I repeating the same
Well,
thing?
and it's not so much that they're not learning the lesson. Their subconscious mind is dictating what they should and should not be doing. And one of the things that I hate most, and hate is a very strong word, but I despise the fact when you hear people say things like, well, I would never let a man beat me, but you let him cheat on you. What's the difference? It still affects us as women. There's all forms of abuse. There's physical, emotional, financial. You stay with men that take your money. You give your money to a man. You don't know how to protect your children. So there's so many components that ties into domestic violence. So before you ever say what you won't do or what you won't tolerate, learn how to find out what makes you tick. What's the driving force for you? Why is it we can't support one another? There's so many things that go on in the world that's pertaining to women, but we still haven't learned how to embrace victims of domestic violence, whether you've been sexually, physically, or emotionally abused. You hear things like, well, you stayed in it too long, or why are you telling now 20 years later? Did anyone ever take the time to think that after 20 years, what was that individual suffering? What were they feeling? What were they thinking?
So let's back up a little bit, because I can see viewers, or just plain devil's advocate, women that may accept their boyfriend or husband cheating on them, and domestic violence is a man or woman beating on you, as two separate things. Some people will more accept a man cheating on you than someone physically or verbally abusing you. So going to one of the comments you made, I think people will look at that differently.
Yes. It's a different type of abuse. It is a different type of abuse. Some people will put up with their man seeing other women, or some men may put up with women seeing other men, but they would refuse to put up me slapping him in his face, or any woman slapping him in his face, or hitting him with something, or vice versa. A woman would not put up with a man hitting. I could tell you right now, I have forgiven men, more than one man, for seeing someone else, or like flirting with someone else, or someone being disrespectful to our relationship. I have forgiven that. But you see a man laying his hands on me, I cannot see myself. I never use the word never. I never use the word never, because people get themselves in situations that they can't believe that, wow, this is me, I'm doing this. But a man putting his hands on me,
See, but it's about control.
I don't know how I don't know how I'm gonna stomach it. It's fair. It's fair of me living in the same house with you and thinking that you can do this at any point in given time. I probably won't even sleep at night.
But here's the thing. What's the difference? Did you not feel bad? Did you not feel violated when he was flirting in your face or seeing other women? It's still the same.
But it's a different type of violation.
Yes, but violation is violation.
We're not saying we accept
I was just about to say, we're not judging you
or
Joycine or anyone for living and staying in a relationship that was abusive, but we're just saying for us, it's not something that we could see ourselves doing. I can't
like
see
we're
myself
not putting
doing
ourselves.
that. Yeah.
The two categories are different for us.
Yes.
Like someone cheating on us, and it's important. Where are you from? Where were you raised? Let's say
Here in
that.
South Florida.
Okay. So maybe our mindset might be a little different, no matter where you're born.
Culturally, of course.
But wait. If we're going to talk culture, 1 out of 4 women are being abused in Jamaica.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, so it's not a matter of what your culture is.
No, but we're telling you our mindset is
Yes.
different
Yes.
on a man or woman cheating on a relationship and comparing it to someone beating you or verbally abusing
But
you.
see, that's a mindset. But at the end of the day, you as your person, the violation is the violation.
It is a violation.
But you can't separate the two, because at the end of the day, you have those who will stay in a relationship where there's unfaithfulness just as long as that person that will stay in an abusive environment. It's accepted that the man is cheating on you or the woman is cheating on the man.
Right.
But it's not accepted if that woman has been in an abusive environment. And what happens is people on the outside still blame the woman, no matter what she does to get out. She still has the stigma of dealing with the fact that she stayed with the man or she was with the man that was abusive. Right. And that's not fair, of course, to the woman.
It's not.
And society has it where it's women are too afraid to even talk about it now. People who know me is probably like, oh my God, what in the world am I going to say? Because see, I have no shame.
Okay,
You can't shame me for what wasn't my fault. And there's many other women it's the same way. These relationships are developing. Here's what I like to tell women. First of all, find out the family dynamics of the young man you're dealing with or the young woman you're dealing with. Because you don't just marry his triceps, his biceps, his 6-figure income, and his nice car. You are marrying his upbringing, or you're dating his upbringing. So therefore, when he starts to turn left and say derogatory things to you, or he hits you the first time, or he pushes you the first time, it's not long before the remainder of that behavior begins to manifest to a greater degree.
I agree.
Okay, so
Joycine,
you've been
Can I say?
Yes.
I want to piggyback off of what you all are saying.
Yes,
the three
please,
of you.
please.
My mother was married to my father, and she said to me, she said, if your father would have never hit me, I would have never left. So, and I'm from Georgia.
Right.
Macon, Georgia, the
Right.
South.
Yeah.
So it has nothing to do with Jamaica, New York, nowhere. If he would have never hit me, I wouldn't have left. Okay. So my mother, Christian, never drank, never smoked, never went out, always worked. And I said to myself, I can't be a good woman, because being a good woman will get you abused.
You said that to you.
I said to myself.
Wow.
Now let me say this, because
So,
the age.
wait.
No, that goes back to that.
Wait a minute. She said, in my mind, she said, it never mattered. She would have put up
With the cheating. Yeah.
with the cheating. It was fine. But it was when he
Hit
Hit her.
her.
he was hitting her.
Uh-huh. Yep.
So now that takes me back. What made you think that was okay
Right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
to even accept that?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So growing up, they always say what? You marry men that are like your father.
Yes. They say that.
They say that.
Mm-hmm.
My first husband
Was like your father.
was like my father.
Wow.
But me, I wasn't gonna I couldn't do that. You couldn't hit me. I couldn't do that.
You could not
You
live
couldn't
that
do
I
life.
could not live that
Mm-hmm.
and expose my daughter to a man that was not even her father to abuse me.
Yep.
So I went through the physical, the mental, the verbal. You were ugly, you were fat, you were black, you just all of that. And I remember living in Germany, running around in 20-degree weather in snow, butt naked, getting away from somebody abusing me.
Oh my goodness. Joycine.
So I'm saying to myself, you can't be a good wife, because if you don't drink, you don't smoke, you don't do this, you don't hang out, they don't respect you.
Wow.
So it screwed my mind up, saying if you're a bad wife, men will love you. How crazy is that?
Did you seek therapy?
Mm-mm.
Did you
No.
seek therapy?
Yes.
So-
I did therapy in my latter, either late 30s or early 40s, because for me, I knew that there was a better way. I didn't know how to undo the dysfunctional things,
Right.
because I looked normal on the outside, but it was what I thought internally. Everyone else would say, oh my God, she's so pretty. Oh my God, I just love her smile. And depending upon how I felt, I was like, shut up. I don't even know what you're talking about.
So I want to go back to something you said. I think, I can't commend you enough for taking that step to leave that situation. I know it must have been very difficult, very challenging. A lot of people stay because it's comfortable. They may financially depend on this person. But I think it's important to know what were some of the things that you experienced, and also what was that last straw for you, why you did it?
With my first husband, when I was in Germany, he was my ticket out of Georgia. So, let me get married, I go to Georgia, and I was a hairstylist. So, I made buku of money in Germany. He would come home, he would rip my money up and throw it off the balcony. He was not a happy drunk. He was a mean drunk.
So did he only do this when he was drunk?
Pretty much.
Wow.
So I went to cigarette smoking. He would burn me with my cigarettes because I wasn't a smoker, but I was stressed.
Question. How long were you guys married before you saw this behavior?
Well, it's crazy. So we were only married like a year and a half. We dated, but like I said, he was my ticket out of Georgia.
You were looking for a way out.
Right.
Yes.
I wasn't trying to stay in Georgia. Let me get out. And that's where I went. We went overseas. We went to Germany. I did what I had to do, and I knew how to I knew how to survive. So
How old were you at the time?
I was 19.
See, but we talk about the after.
How old
of-
is he?
How old is he now?
Was he, sorry.
So I was 18 at 20.
But
Joycine.
But at the end of the day, we're talking about the after effect. Those are the things that you experience.
It mentally.
Hold on,
Go
hold
ahead.
on. We still have to do with our internal thoughts, how we see ourselves, how we feel ourselves. We're talking. What you're talking about is what your experience was. But because we're not healthy emotionally, we're making bad decisions. And, and so the key factor to all of this is we have to do the work. When you begin to build up your emotions, there's things you just don't tolerate. I don't care who's dealing with who says what. At the end of the day, you've got to take some time and do the work. Why do I allow a man to cheat on me? Why would I stay with a man that's unfaithful versus staying with the man that's abusive? It still violates us in our person. It's
We're
still
not disagreeing
no,
with
no,
that.
no.
But-
I'm not saying that you are. What I am saying is this. Hear me. At the end of the day, there is no difference. We make it a difference and we tolerate different things, but it still violates us as how we see ourselves. What you're saying is it's easier to stay with someone who will cheat on me, but I will never stay with anyone that violates me physically.
Absolutely
that's not what we said.
No,
Absolutely
no,
not.
no.
Charlene,
That's
what
what
my mama
wait,
said.
I'm not
That's
saying-
what
wait,
my
wait,
mama
wait, wait,
said.
I'm not saying, I'm not saying you guys individually.
Stop. Charlene, stop. We want to finish what Dawn asked
Right.
you.
Thank you.
I do,
Yes.
because here's
Yes.
why.
Okay.
There are so many women listening or will listen to this episode that your statement is so powerful
Yes.
because you made a choice to leave. They may be in the same situation, and we want people to know
What
they are not
is it?
alone.
What made me leave
Yes.
was I could not see myself taking abuse from a man that was not my child's father, number one. But I refuse to be in a relationship with somebody physically abusing me that did the same thing to my mother and also mentally did it to me, physically did it to me. I couldn't see that. I saw that early on. So my mentality towards men, I have zero tolerance. So when I walk in a room, I own a room. You don't like me, we good. But I have zero tolerance. Not because I don't respect them because they already have challenges, but I refuse to be belittled as a woman because what I experienced, and you have to get to that point. Some people, it may take a lifetime for somebody to get to that point because they don't love themselves. I love me.
So let me stop you 1 second because
Okay.
we still don't have an answer to
Okay.
Dawn's question.
Okay.
And I'm sure everyone
When
who's
I
watching
go,
this
because
wants
when
to
he
know.
beat me, that's the when he beat me to when they could not recognize me,
That was your last.
that was it.
Wow.
See, but that's still the
Okay,
surface.
give us a moment though. That is powerful, and I'm glad
You
made
couldn't
the
recognize
choice.
me.
Because so many women go through
Oh
it,
my
go
God,
to hospitals, the
Joycine.
police are called, they won't prosecute them.
You could not recognize me. I was disfigured, and I was in I wasn't in the States. I was in Germany.
Yeah.
So I wasn't with family
Yeah.
that my mother was right there.
Right.
And they told him they kicked him out of the military, and I was done.
So you packed your and nothing.
No,
just-
boo, I ain't packed,
you
cause I
just-
was making too much money.
Na-
I stayed, they kicked him out.
How old was you? Had a child at the time,
Right,
How
but
old
I was
the child?
I was 15 when I had my daughter, so
Oh, okay.
right, so she was there, but I was making too much money. I wasn't going nowhere. They kicked him out, so I had to keep doing what I had to do.
Okay.
Well, thanks for making that choice, and
Yeah.
thanks for sharing it with us, because I'm sure
Yes,
other women are in that situation
Yeah.
that are listening tonight, and they know and they see how you've recovered and you're being successful.
And you
in your
lived
own
to
right.
tell your story.
Yes,
here.
absolutely.
Here. Okay.
Okay.
As I was saying,
We had to get through that. Sorry, Charlene.
Right,
Had to
It's-
connect
it's,
with that.
It's still, that's the surface. That's, yes, I congratulate you on removing yourself out of the environment. But what we're not relating to is the emotional component from stage one. Is you said that you respect yourself. The moment he did not treat you right, the first time, you did not leave. That's number one. Number two, what is it about you? What is it about me? What is it about the audience that attracts the wrong man or the wrong woman? That's an internal issue.
It is internal.
That is how you see yourself. It sounds good
It's internal.
to say, I would never let a man hit me. I would never let a man cheat me. I would never let a man be in total control. That sounds good. But your actions, what's going on in your subconscious mind, is what's causing you to make the same mistakes
Right.
over and over and over. Okay,
Yes.
hold on. It may not be the abuse this time, but you make bad financial decisions.
Yep.
You don't balance out your money. Why? Because it's how you see yourself.
Yes.
Not what someone else says. Validation doesn't come outwardly. Validation comes from within.
Approval comes from within.
And in
validation
order
comes
and in
from
order
within.
to validate yourself from a healthy place, you gotta first become healthy.
Yes.
And if we're making decisions based on what our mother said, what our children, how our children feel, how people see us, we're gonna make bad decisions every single time.
I
So-
agree with you 100%.
so,
But-
100%.
so I'm not saying that abuse in any form is good or bad, or one takes precedent over the other. I'm going back to
Neither are
how no, I'm
Neither
not.
are we.
I'm not saying
Right.
you all are. I'm talking for the viewing audience who don't have the information
Right.
that we have. We make some of the decisions that we're making based on what we saw in childhood,
Right.
whether that was a good environment or a bad
Exactly.
environment.
Exactly.
And if we take ourselves back and begin to look at it, now this is where work gets done at. Who are you? Like, who are you as an individual? Are you your mother's child? Are you making decisions based on what you genuinely think, or what you heard, or how you feel, or what you think? The work has to be done from the perspective of across the board. You have to make sound decisions. How do you balance out your finances? What type of friends do you have around you? The old saying is birds
That flock together.
Birds
Birds
of the
that
feather
feather
flock
flock
together. If you want to know who you really are, like really, look at your circle of friends.
Of course.
Your circle of friends will tell you
You are who you
are.
hang out with.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So if you're making unhealthy decisions from friendship, of course you're going to make unhealthy decisions when it comes to relationships, your finances. It doesn't matter what your education is. It does not matter what home you live in, what your finances are like. None of that. How you think determines about the people that you're going to associate yourself with, and how you deal with life in general. As I stated, it is wonderful to say what we would not tolerate. But if you're not thinking healthy, there's just things you tolerate that are less impactful than other things.
Right. So I think we all come with a different mindset based on what you experience in your home, based on your personal thoughts, based on breaking the cycle, so to speak. I think, and I watched the interview with Rihanna, which probably resonates with a lot of people when you talk about domestic violence, because she's a celebrity and it was her and Chris Brown dating. But in her interview, she acknowledged the fact that her concern wasn't for her, it was for Chris Brown, because he was now publicly being targeted, being embarrassed.
But
and
it shouldn't have mattered.
hold on a second, for her, she lost her best friend. She was more concerned about him, not agreeing or disagreeing with her. That's the mindset of somebody that was in a situation that lost someone they connected with. I don't know if she was abused in childhood or anything like that, but the mindset of someone that is being abused, it's not an overnight process. You know, you mentioned as well that it takes time for some people. The first time someone hits you, you may walk away because you may have seen that abuse as a child, but you walk away because you made that choice that this will never ever happen to me.
And
or you can stay in that cycle and think that it's the norm.
We're making those decisions based on who we are, what we think, how we feel.
Definitely.
And so what I'm stating is that there is work that has to be done internally with us.
Yes.
Otherwise, you have people that would be on the bandwagon. Oh my God, you're surviving domestic violence. It's way more than surviving domestic violence.
Yes, I agree. Let me just wipe off this lipstick you have here. I agree 100%. It's internal. Almost every decision we make, almost every move we make daily in our lives, it's from the inside. It's how we were raised. It's what we picked up from friendships. It's what we picked up from situations and circumstances. So it's definitely internal, which is why I asked you and why I asked Joycine about therapy, which is why one of the first questions I had was whether or not any one of you seek therapy. Because therapy will help you get out what is inside.
Providing you have a good therapist.
Exactly.
Because everyone that says they're therapy doesn't mean that they're a great therapist.
Very true.
So you have to have someone that can hear you.
Yes.
Because hearing me and hearing her are two different things. At the end of the day, in all the therapy that you get, you still have to do the work. You still have to process and say, if you're making a bad decision here today, you know, you're with people that are making bad decisions. So do you decide, I'm going to remove myself from them, or am I going to stay so that I don't lose the friendship? Many people will stay so that they don't lose the friendship. And to comment on what you were saying about Rihanna, and she was more concerned about Chris Brown and his state of mind, that's dysfunctional. Her first concern should have been about herself.
Of course it's
Forget about what he was feeling.
Of course.
And throughout that time, she still kind of defended him. I don't know how the story totally ended. So whereas when we talk about domestic violence, we talk about sexual, physical, emotional abuse, from the clinical standpoint, we need to be concerned about us first. The clinical state is theta state. That theta state that happens before you're 7 years old. Everything that you hear, everything that you intake, up to 7 years old, follows you over into your adult life. So we're talking about the abuse of it is the after effect. We've got to deal with the internal effect, the emotional components. We make bad decisions, we go to bad churches, all based on how we see ourselves. People disrespect us, we tolerate it anyway. Why? We don't value ourselves the way that we say we do. Because if we did, if you disrespected me, I'm not giving you a second chance to disrespect me because you don't feel good about yourself. That's why you're disrespectful to me, because you don't feel good about yourself. It's not personal, so I remove myself from that environment. Doesn't mean you bad, doesn't mean I'm better. It's a choice that I make for me, like, you know, I don't like the way you deal with other people, so therefore I remove myself from that. We're not making those types of decisions. We're staying in friendships and relationships, and we're tolerating it and making that be okay. And that's not.
I agree with you, but I think at this stage in our lives, the age that we've gotten to, I think we've learned a lot about whether or not we should stay in certain relationships.
But we haven't learned it. That's why
I have. I can tell you
Yeah.
that. I have. Some people have
Some
not though.
people,
No,
I
Some
feel
people
that
have not.
people
Some people have
have.
not.
I think that the people have, but sometimes it's convenient for them.
But how is it they have when every 2 minutes in America a woman is being abused? We haven't learned it.
Because
1 out of 4 women
it-
will suffer domestic violence in their lifetime. So no, we have not
Okay, so
learned.
you're saying generally speaking. Generally
Well,
speaking,
yes.
we
Some
What
have.
you
people-
guys are, you're saying what you all are feeling, but it's not about us
Right.
in
No,
this
no, no.
intimate circle. It is about those
Generally
who are
Generally
listening
speaking,
to us.
sometimes people, even if they, let's say nobody has been abused, let's
But
say,
that's not reality. Let's stay with the reality. People have been abused.
Okay.
People have been sexually
All
abused. I mean, that's not realistic
Okay.
if we say, what if? What if does not matter.
Okay.
What's factual is what matters.
okay, factually, some people stay knowing that they need to leave, but it's convenient for them.
Yes.
It's not convenient. It's fear. See,
No, no, no,
I
no.
can't wait. I can't sit here and let you give the wrong perception
No,
of what
I'm just
you feel.
saying,
It's not
no,
about
no.
what you feel.
It's not what I feel. Sometimes people just say, you know what?
It's convenient. I
But
get what
it's-
you mean.
but the
I get what you
convenience
mean.
is
It may
fear.
not be. I'm
It
not
could
going.
be financial. Financial
Not
convenience.
always fear. Sometimes
It's not always fair.
It's not always fear.
It's
It is not
If you're
always.
being, then
I
you
don't
don't have
agree
the
with that.
you don't then you don't have the self love that you're trying to convince everyone else that you have.
Not
If you-
necessarily. That's not necessarily.
Where are you getting your statistics from?
It's not. It's not even about us.
It is about statistics.
Okay.
Because
I'm just
statistics
saying
is based
some
on what others who have been interviewed. Now, let me tell you something. I've done a lot of work in this, so you wouldn't be able to debate me real good because my concern is on the people who are listening to us.
Right, and it's not that I'm debating. Some people would just say, "Listen, I know it's a lot of people. Girl, I ain't going nowhere right now. I'm too old. I ain't got time for that. I'm just not going to leave."
I don't want to get up and go look for a place.
I don't
I
wanna-
can't afford to live.
And that's
by
what I'm saying. So it's
myself.
not a debate. You may be right. That's not my field. I don't have all the what I'm saying is real life talk, talking to women every day. Girl, I ain't got time. They can do what they want to do. I got a check coming home. I'm not taking care of these kids by myself. Whatever. They good with that, Charlie. So I'm not trying to debate you. What I am saying, some women don't care.
I get that they don't care. That's why it's up to us to give them
Right.
information so
Right.
that
They
they
can
can
have
change
the
their
information.
Which
mindset.
is what this show is about. Let's bring this back. Let's bring
Right,
this
they
right
can
back.
have the
ladies.
information.
Okay.
Dawn is like,
Okay,
quiet.
let's bring it back. Let's bring it back. The
Let's bring it
show is about letting our viewers know what is it they can do if they need help, if they're in a situation where they're being abused. So let's give
Here,
them
let me
that
give
information.
this.
Let's
Here-
give them
here-
that information. Can we check to see if anyone has any questions while we're online? Because I think
Yeah, we are
We're
checking
Here,
in.
okay, while there, I'll give you some
yes, in the
some
meantime,
information.
please.
One is, if you're contemplating leaving your abuser, you must have an exit plan. Don't wake up one day and just be like, you know what, I'm
Wow,
leaving this
I
little
like
booger.
that. I like
You
that.
know, so you've got to have
Have
a
a
plan.
plan.
And if you've got to have someone that you trust. I mean, trust on an average, it takes a woman about 7 times before she absolutely leaves that abuser. She'll leave, she'll go back, she'll leave, she'll go back.
My mom.
Men are doing some of the same things now. This is not just women.
Yes.
But if you're going to leave, here are some of the things that you need to have. Have an extra set of these. Have them at a friend's house. Have them where it's convenient, where you can get them either immediately or later on. Leaving them in your home, that's not the safest place because you don't always have time to grab those things and leave. You need birth certificates, social security cards, school and medical records. You need money. You need bank books.
So we're gonna post these online.
Cash.
Okay, credit cards. If you're on public assistance, you need your food stamps. You need an extra set of keys to your house, your car. Your office, if you're working, because this is happening in corporate America too. This is
Right.
not
So we're gonna
just
post the
with
list
women,
online.
that are of low income. Your driver's license registration, medication, medical cards, passport, green cards, work permits, address books, because when you're in stress, you do not think, you can't remember nobody's phone number.
Right.
And we're upstage, we're not remembering numbers anyway. We're using our cell phones and just, pulling up a name.
Yes.
You need, if you're renting your property or you own your property, you need your lease agreement, you need your house,
So for the sake of time, can we post these online and listen to some of the comments we're having? Is there anything else other than anything significant that stands out?
The
other
show,
than
we need to say what you're doing about the show, about your show that's coming up.
the fashion show.
Yeah, we need to let these viewers know how they can otherwise support.
October 17th, because it's such a stigma around domestic violence and women are still shamed, and even with us, how we're debating and talking about the issue, I decided this year that I would have a couture fashion show. One, to honor women. Joycine is one of the women that I'm honored.
Modeling? Are you modeling?
No, we have the professionals for that. This is
I'm
not
not a
just
professional.
No, you're not.
So you're an honoree though.
She concurs.
You're an honoree.
But she's an honoree because I tell you, Joycine has a very amazing story.
Yes.
I mean, her survival skills are just
Wow.
amazing. The theme of the couture show is beauty behind the lipstick, because we put our lipsticks on, we flip our hair back, we're good.
I love that
And
name.
the strength of a woman is amazing. No matter how dysfunctional we are, no matter what environment we come out of, when we make up in our mind that we're done, we're done. Come hell or high water, we're out. We find someone that we can stick with, that will help hold us up. I have some sister friends. I have some women that are older than me that when I don't know what to do, although I'm not in that environment anymore, but when I don't know what to do, if I don't know what to do from a professional standpoint, I have some women that I can call and say, what should I do? We've got to get ourselves in positions where we learn how to trust one another. So the couture show is about us coming together, our strength, our different backgrounds, and we're just going to have us a fashion show. Back in the 70s and 80s, we had the Ebony Fashion Fair, which was in business for over 50 years. I'm not recreating the wheel. I'm doing the same thing that Eunice Johnson did. She took that fashion show on the road. She went from city to city and she raised money for charities. I am taking beauty behind the lipstick on the road in different countries, and I'm raising money for autism because my grandson is autistic. He was born at 23 weeks old, barely weighing a pound, and he's about as normal as a normal child can be at this point. And then there's for domestic violence, because there's so many components to domestic violence. We still can use sponsors. We still can use those that are willing to support us financially. This is a huge undertaking. We need the public to get involved. Don't just sit back and go, oh, well, maybe I will or maybe I won't. Come out and see what these women are doing. Come out and see how they have survived. Support the show. Everyone started somewhere. I had someone say to me, well, you know, you're still young. Everyone that's successful now, some of these bigger organizations, they started exactly where I'm at.
So how do they purchase tickets?
They can go to the lpac.com, that's the Lauderhill Performing Arts Center, or you can go to my website, www.coffeebreakwithcharlie.org. You can get your tickets either way. This is to bring awareness of domestic violence, but it's to make us feel good when we leave, to make us feel pretty. I have Godfrey Del Rio, who is a creative director for my organization. He will come on a little bit later and tell you more about the fashion component. My concern is bringing the awareness, bringing the women together. Let us strengthen one another rather than tearing each other down. We hear that all the time, and it drives me nuts because we're still not doing that. We talk about doing it, but we're not doing
about
it. No.
They're not about
And
it.
so what I'm saying is, this is a time that every woman that's looking, every man that's watching, this is a time you can say, you know what? I'm going to a fashion show and I'm going to watch these women strut. We're not talking about a fashion show where women are just, our everyday women. We're talking women that are come from real agencies. We're talking about real designers, Valentino, Chanel, all of these different types of people. But like I say, he can tell you more about it than I can. But just what Eunice Johnson did for Ebony Fashion Fair, that is what we are doing.
Awesome.
Awesome.
That's
And we'll also
awesome.
share the link on our Facebook page as well, on the Caribbean Edge. So let's see what some of our viewers are saying. Well, Joan Virtue, thanks for tuning in. She says, take up kickboxing. So some self-defense there. Alicia says, I'm a survivor. I left my abusive relationship 13 and a half years ago. It was the best as well as the most important decision I've ever made. I thank God every day for the guidance to keep walking forward. And I'm not going to say it has been easy, but I can say it's been many years since I glanced back. There is life after domestic violence, and that is awesome, which goes to your story.
This is Alicia whom?
That was Alicia Consuego.
Okay.
I probably messed up her name there.
Thanks for sharing your story.
And
Alicia.
Chinlu says, yeah, absolutely. He loves the honest dialogue that's going on. and I think, we say we're having debates or, but realistically, ladies, we're having true conversations.
Mm-hmm.
You have one point of view, you have one point of view, we have our point of views as well. And once again, it goes back to our own experiences, our decisions and choices. And I agree with Charlene as well. Our maturity has also enabled us, and as we have these conversations, to make better choices for ourselves. I personally hate generalizing. I think there's so many women that are, fixing other women's crowns, as you say, and uplifting each other. Maybe it's because of the circle of friends that I have. So I'm not around the women that are not standing up for other women, or if they are, they're not in my circle because I just don't experience that. So kudos to the women that are truly out there supporting each other, which is what you guys are doing as well.
One other thing that I would like to say is that there is a way that you can leave your abusive relationship, whereas in my case it was my marriage. I didn't sabotage my relationship with my ex-husband's family. We're still intact. Some of them still call me auntie. So there is a way to do that without demoralizing everyone. Because at the end of the day, he is my children's father.
Yeah.
And all through that process, I talked to my children. This is what you have to do. This is how you see things. Your father makes decisions based on his environment. I get to make decisions for you all and how you respect your father based on who I am and how I see things. My experience is not my children's experience. We were young. That's no excuse for it. And I often say this: if you didn't want to be exposed for abusing women, then don't abuse them. Because some of us are going to get the strength and we're going to talk about it. We're not going to keep you a secret. We're not going to keep molesters a secret. And there is nothing wrong when we decide to tell. You should be shamed for the behavior that you have. Don't look at us because we're telling. Like, go and get you some counseling.
Just don't
go
do
and
it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Just don't do
You
it.
know, and
Well,
the women don't get the support that they need when they decide to tell. Because let me tell you something. I stand all by myself. All by myself. Things that I said today, there's things my family don't know.
Right.
My immediate family. Because it wasn't open for discussion.
But
But
while
I
it
still
worked
did
out
the
in
work.
your family that you stayed connected, a lot of women have to walk away from
Absolutely.
those families because they're also hurtful to them. They
Right.
knew the abuse was taking
Oh,
place,
their-
or
the
it's
family
just
knew.
best their loyalty is going to be to their son or daughter, whoever the abuser is.
Mhm.
So I think it's very important that we share our own personal experiences, but each person also has to make their individual choices for their own safety and
Mhm.
for their children and their mindset and their sanity.
Are you still friends with or communicate with your abuser?
Oh, absolutely not.
Okay. And what I want to
Well,
say.
wait, let me say, before I say, my absolutely not because I didn't want to. I didn't make that choice. I believe in peacemakers. We can't say we love God, we're going to heaven, and we have unforgiveness and envy in my heart. I did my part to make the peace. It was not welcome. So since it's not welcome, I moved on.
Okay. Because for some, what I will say is, for me, I had to process, because I think one of you said, did I go to counseling? No, I didn't go to counseling. For me, maybe I'm just different, but
Everybody's different.
right.
Mhm.
So abuse, and I had to see that what people did to me, somebody did it to them. So you get to the root of what happened. Can you really be really mad with them and fault them for that? Because what? You have to love. Love is kind. Love knows no wrong. And I feel bad. I feel bad for the abuse that I went through because somebody did it to them. And in my mind, I'm like, what happened? Who did it to them? And why are they processing what happened to them and who did it to them?
Probably not.
No, no, because what happens is abusers who abuse is their norm. So
But
they don't
here's
see
why
anything wrong
I
with
disagree
it.
with it. I mean, I agree that you feel. I understand that you feel that way. I think for me personally, I hold that abuser 100% accountable because despite his experiences, he has a choice. He knows somewhere in there it is wrong. He sees the bruises on your face. He sees you weakened. He sees the hurt. He sees your tears. He is 100% accountable despite his own baggage.
And that's powerful because for me, maybe I do need counseling.
I
No,
think we
you
all
don't.
do. I think we all need counseling. I think I need counseling. I think Dawn needs counseling. I think we all need.
But I just
think we
feel
all
really
need
bad,
counseling.
and I think they see it, and I do, and I get it, and I truly get it. But I just be like, wow, what? In my mind, I'm like, what happened to them? Who did this to them?
Right.
Even in their accountability, you still don't know. You still don't. There is a driving force in that individual. If they don't learn how to control their anger is coming from the things that they experienced in their childhood.
True.
So therefore, yes, they know what they're doing is wrong. Yes, they see your tears. Yes, they see your pain. But again, that's where our self-help comes in. But we need more resources for women. When I was in Jersey, I was up there 6 months. There was nothing that were compatible far as if a woman is in Jersey and wants to come to Florida. There was no resources. To my knowledge, there still isn't. There were no resources to make that transition. There was no help for men. And if your child is 17, 18, and you're trying to leave your abuser, and your child is he's 17 or 18, but they're mentally 9 and 10, where are you going? There's no shelters to take in those kids. So there is still so much work
to be done.
that has to be done. And abusers don't necessarily know how to make that transition without some counseling. I know men who are stuck in marriages and relationships, and they're miserable. I mean, miserable. If I could just snatch them out myself, like, dude, really? Like, and so it's not just us women who are
It's
making it.
men
The men
also.
are 40% of men are
They're
experiencing
being
domestic
abused
abuse.
too.
Yes,
So
and they
while-
don't talk about it.
Who to men we got you, boo. We
So
hey.
what we're gonna
Yeah.
do is wrap up
Right.
this segment because we do want you to stay tuned. We're gonna take like a 10-minute break. We do have Godfrey coming on. We definitely want to focus on this show because it's going to be fabulous and we want your support for it. And we do have Miss Nadia Assad as well, who's going to join us for part 2 of this very powerful and impactful Need to Talk About conversation. Any parting words from you, ladies?
Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Ciao for now, guys.
Thank you
We're gonna
so
be
much
back.
for joining us and
Thank
sharing your
you.
story.
Thank you, Joycine.
Bye.